Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little different than what we usually do. I've spent the last, say 8 months or so playing this mod pack for Skyrim called Nolvus Ascension. Many of you might have already heard of Nolvus Ascension before. It is a super fun, really complex, really massive mod pack for Skyrim. And I've been playing it for quite some time, like I said. And I kind of want to just create a review on it and give you guys kind of an overview of what I think of it after playing it for so long, and if I would recommend you playing it as well. So, here we go. So the first and most obvious thing that I want to talk about is it has to be the graphics. The graphic overhaul of Nolvus is amazing. And what's great about Nolvus also is it's just an easy install. I mean, they have an automatic installer. It takes Vortex Premium, and they have you create an account with them, but they don't send you any spam, and it is super straightforward and pretty easy. Even when there's an accident or something messes up, their website is full of resources, and they also have a Discord server that you can go visit and ask them questions if you have any issues. But with the graphics in mind, as we can see in a lot of the gameplay that's going to roll throughout this video, it is absolutely gorgeous, whether it be the ray tracing or anything like that. And in this video here in the background playing, I have two different gameplays. I have my Paladin, who when I went with like a two-handed playthrough, he was a follower of Talos, etc., etc. And then my other playthrough, my first playthrough that I did was a mage. So he was a necromancer. And as you guys can see, I had two slightly different settings for each one. My Necromancer playthrough, I had the utmost settings. I had max resolution, 1440p at ultra settings. This is like their ultra no compromises one with ray tracing on. And I was getting right around 50 to 60 FPS the entire time. My system has a Ryzen 7 5700X 3D and a RX 6950 XT with 16 gigs of VRAM. And I have 32 gigs of system memory. So my system is able to handle it. However, my second playthrough, I lowered the settings just so I could have that 60 FPS experience and have it locked in and not have to worry about frame drops, because there is a lot of frame fluctuation I have found. Your mileage may vary depending, maybe you use a GeForce card. I don't in this. I tried using a GeForce card in my other computer, and it seemed to be working just fine, but it was an underpowered card anyways, so your mileage may vary. But overall, when it comes to graphics, this makes the game look 100 times better, 100% more fluid. It looks great. The animations are amazing as well. While you're installing the game, there'll be an option to enable fantasy animations. If you do that, you can kind of see a few positions in which my character does a couple flips. And if you look back at previous videos as well, my Paladin does like crazy attacks, right? And that's because of that fantasy animation. The magic in this, absolutely amazing. We'll get to that in another section. But yeah, the graphics, guys, they're amazing. The magic effects are crazy looking, and the enemies look really awesome. Really high resolution textures. And I would definitely recommend it if you're just a person into graphics, but you'll definitely need a high-end system for it. Adventuring in Nolvus is something that is truly magnificent when compared to the base game of Skyrim. Don't get me wrong, the base game Skyrim does have great adventuring in my opinion. I think that it was truly ahead of its time when it came to random encounters. At the time when the game came out, it was great. And as time has kind of developed, it kind of feels repetitive. And maybe that's just due to the sheer amount of hours I spent in the game. But with Nolvus, it adds a ton of new encounters and a ton of new enemies. So the adventuring when you're running through the forest or whatever, and you can kind of see this in one of the clips that's upcoming, you run across crazy monsters, whether that be ogres or trolls or whatever it might be, right? It adds more flavor to the game, more variability, and more, I guess, life into the world. Because in base Skyrim, it feels pretty repetitive. There's only 5 or 6 different random encounter like monsters, I guess. Whether that be a troll, a spider, a wolf, a bear, a saber cat, right? maybe a mud crab here and there. But this game adds so much more to that, and it also adds random patrols as well from different factions, such as the Vigilance Estendar. My second character, the Paladin, we went super far into the Vigilant Estendar quest, and with that, we started seeing more Vigilance around as well. Mind you, that may just be a coincidence, or it might be actually programmed into it, but I thought that to be very, very interesting. One thing I do have to say about the adventuring is that, I mean, in the end, it's still Skyrim, which, whether you see it as a good or bad thing, it's not going to change it a whole lot when it comes to just the base parts of it. You know, you run around, you find things, you kill them, that's it. We did, however, find one quest that was really cool. We ran up to a group of adventurers, right? And they're like, hey, we need your help if you want to come. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? That sounds amazing. So we go into this cave, kill a bunch of really high-level enemies. I think it was one of my latest videos of the Paladin playthrough, one of the last 3. And we find out at the end that one of the characters is a silver hand, and they were hunting down a werewolf. It was really neat, really cool. That's a random encounter that we've had. And that, I found that to be way more like engaging compared to like the base game. Overall, though, I think the adventuring and the exploration of Skyrim and Nolvus Ascension are amazing. Nolvus takes what's great about the Skyrim one, builds upon it, and takes what's bad about it, and it helps flesh it out a little better to make it good enough, right? So overall, I think the adventuring and the overall theme of it is great. Another aspect that I find very interesting about this mod pack is it has to be the perks. The perk system is super cool. It uses Ordinator, which I imagine almost everyone in the modding community knows, right? Super cool, but it also has custom like skill trees as well. And these skill trees vary from hand to hand to unarmored. So you could have a completely monk build or barbarian build if you wanted, like a D&D class. There's also the entire vampire tree that they added on and redid. There's a Vigilant Estendar tree. There's almost anything that you can think of in this, right? That there is no end to the capacity in which you can create a unique character that you would have been able to otherwise. One thing I do find semi-frustrating about it is a lot of the issue with the Ordinator is it takes a lot of perk points. Now, there is ways around this. It does have sky shards in this mod pack that you can go and get. So once you get 3, you then have, your new perk point. However, going out and hunting for these sky shards can be kind of boring. And if you do the alternate leveling that is an option in Nolvus, you have to basically spend points on these trees, and you get 1 perk point per level just like it is in normal, but you can't really expedite your leveling that much because all your leveling on alternate is controlled by completing quests and finding locations. I did that on my first character, the wizard, the necromancer, and I found myself oftentimes just feeling like bogged down by the constant, I need to go complete this quest in order to get the XP for it. While in my second playthrough, I did the Paladin, in which I was able to just keep the standard Skyrim leveling, and I found it to be much more free feeling. Mind you, I mean, there's less game balance when you do it that way. Like I said, you can exploit smithing, but I mean, something has to be said for this classical leveling of Skyrim and how it feels free and open compared to this alternate leveling system that you feel fairly locked into. So I personally probably wouldn't do the alternate leveling system again. It was interesting while it lasted, but going through, I think, 30 some odd levels of alternate leveling just wasn't really it for me. I mean, I probably could have been 40 or 50 if regular Skyrim levels was a thing. But to each their own. But overall, the perk system, super cool, super in-depth. Adds a lot more to the game that I wish was there in the base game. So I love the perk system. The magic system in Nolvus is one of those systems that is just absolutely chef's kiss. Mwah. It's great. It's gorgeous. Now, there is a few things, it's still Skyrim at base, right? So it's a very simple system. You learn these spells, you cast them with your magicka, wait for your magicka to regen. Now, do be careful if you become a follower of Magnus. I did this on my first playthrough, and I thought I actually ruined it, so I had to restart. Anyways, when you take the follower of Magnus, you have to pray to regen magicka. I didn't know that, so I was using console commands to try to get by, and I couldn't do it anymore. So I ended up deleting my first save on accident because I was trying to reinstall a game, thinking, maybe there's a bad game file. No, turns out I was just a dummy and chose the wrong thing. But anyways, I digress. The magic in this is awesome. There is a lot of spells that I learned in my Necromancer playthrough. I did a lot of conjuration. And there was one where I summoned like a Daedroth. And if you guys ever played like Elder Scrolls Online, you know a Daedroth. It's freaking cool looking. They breathe fire. It's awesome, right? I summon a couple of them in the gameplay that's playing in the background of my Necromancer. And they are just crazy. There's also the Undying Ghost, where it uses all your magicka and summons a stronger summon based on that. And that's really cool, right? So another thing to really look at too is the amount of support spells, whether that be illusion and abjuration, or not abjuration, be transmutation. Sorry, I apologize. But it changes the game and it makes it amazing. I cannot describe to you how good it feels to throw down 2 summons at once, 2 Daedroths, and watch them run up and breathe fire on an enemy and watch them melt before you. It is freaking amazing, guys. One thing I did really like about it, and I got this one spell in the illusion tree, was it allowed me to cast it on someone, and a clone of themselves fought them. I thought that was really cool. Basically, it gives illusion combat purpose, because I found illusion and transmutation, transmutation less so, but illusion especially, to really only have one combat use, and it was to cast invisibility. Like throughout the entirety of my playthrough, it was really only casting invisibility. So with this ability and this spell, it truly changes the game, and I really enjoy that. It's not only that either, they use another mod that adds a damaging spell to restoration. That's really cool. It makes a cleric playthrough, for instance, a lot more viable. So I personally love the magic system, and it's by far the best one that I've played yet. The next part that I want to talk about has to be the crafting. So in Nolvus, there is a huge amount of equipment that you can get. And my second character, my paladin, I primarily focused on the smithing tree. I maxed it out super early on. But there's a crazy amount of equipment in it, and they are, mind you, there is definitely some exploits still. This is Skyrim. There's going to be exploits. People who make these mods aren't all working in cahoots to try to balance out the cost to make and to sell. But it is awesome. There is so many weapons and armors, and there's so much customability to it that it really like opens your eyes. And I've been playing this game for a really long time, and just adding this little bit in makes all the difference. It makes what used to be very simple armor system much more interesting, much more diverse, and allows you to kind of experiment. For instance, one of the weapons that my paladin used was the Black Steel Spadone, and it was still the strongest weapon from what I found. Mind you, there's hundreds upon hundreds of weapons, but I was able to make that super early on, and so I had a huge power buff at the early parts of the game. Now, whether or not you like that or not, it's cool in my opinion. I do think that if you avoid the exploits, this game is extremely balanced. And maybe that's, just the nature of it. But I find the crafting very interesting and very awesome. There is one exploit that I'll mention in this video, and it involves making underwear, actually. You spend 1 piece of leather, and you can sell it for 1,500 gold. So if you're into it just to make money and to feel like a rich individual, then hey, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. I did that in my playthrough just so I could have the extra gold to do whatever I wanted. I mean, I didn't even do anything with it. I had 53,000 gold by the end of the playthrough. So, but overall, I love the crafting system. It adds so much to the game. I didn't really look at the alchemy system. I believe it's fairly similar. Obviously, there's tons of enchantments. Tons and tons of enchantments. And, you know, you can't go wrong. Enchantments are tons of fun. The only issue I find is, well, if you do the exploit, you'll have plenty of gold to do it. There's just not a whole lot of soul gems I found. And maybe that's just by my blind eyes not finding it or going to the right locations. But there is a lot of cool enchantments that you can put on a lot of cool gear. And the crafting system alone it's truly, truly awesome. I mean, there's no other words for it. The last thing that I want to talk about is it would have to be the sheer amount of quest additions as well as companions. So in my first playthrough, I did a lot of like homebrew quests, right? Ones made by the community. Now, there is a few that I didn't like. However, that is just a preference thing. But there was a lot that I thought was really, really cool. So in my second playthrough, for instance, when I was playing the Paladin, there was a fully custom, like, Vigilant Astendar questline. Mind you, that was really, really cool. And I found that to be probably my favorite questline I did throughout the entirety of my playthrough. My first character, I focused on, like, the main questline, and I did the Lich, like, Ascension thing, which I thought was really cool. However, with the broken Magicka thing, it kind of soured me about it at the time. But looking back on it now, it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. So, but anyways, the Vigilant Astendar questline was amazing. I really enjoyed it. You go to all different places. I mean, it can feel repetitive, but you know, you're killing Daedra. It's fun. It's also kind of a horror pack or a horror mod. So, in the second questline. And then in regards to followers, in my first playthrough, I found a really cool, like, old Imperial soldier. Unfortunately, he died very quickly. Same with Lydia. Lydia died really quickly. But there was one in particular, if you guys play through this, and I strongly recommend using her. Her name is Toccata. I used her in both my playthroughs, and she is great. I also hired a mercenary, just an orcish mercenary on my first one as well. Just to have 2 companions. I don't believe there's a limit to how many companions, maybe like 3 or 4. I never had any more than 2 in my first playthrough, but it was nice. I really liked having the followers. I felt like they were interesting, and I felt like they were strong enough and able to help you out a lot. Toccata is a great healer, so if you're in combat, you know, you're getting low, she'll automatically recognize that and heal you up to your maximum hit points. It's great, especially if you're doing any sort of frontline melee build. It's amazing. But yeah, guys, I really enjoy quest lines and the followers in Nolvus. So we come to the end of the video, guys, where I give you my final opinion and my final verdict, right? And in the end, my opinion doesn't matter, right? It's all about beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? If you find this enjoyable, it looks cool, go out and download it, play it. It's tons of fun, right? Whatever your definition of fun is, go find it. Now, in my opinion, I love Nolvus. I've made a lot of content on it. I played a lot of hours of it. I probably put in close to 100 hours, if not a little bit more on my own time, of just running through and playing it. And it truly brings me back to when I first played Skyrim, back when I was a wee little lad, as they would say. And I put a lot of hours into it when I was a kid, but this breathed new life into Skyrim that I thought I wasn't going to find until Elder Scrolls 6. But this is kind of like a stepping stone just to get me to the edge until we get Elder Scrolls 6, right? And I personally would 100% recommend this if you're looking for a vanilla plus or a complete, like, just breath of fresh air into Skyrim. I think you can't go wrong doing Nolvus. There's a ton of support for it. It's kind of a big name in the community at this point. And as somebody who's been making content on it for a while, I would strongly recommend it. The only thing that I would say to do is I would leave basic leveling on, and if you want to have alternate start, go ahead. If not, the vanilla start feels honestly new. I don't know what about it. It just feels different, but whether that be the graphics or whatever. I mean, the quest itself is the same. Nothing changed. It just feels new and refreshing. So, overall, guys, I would strongly recommend this. If you guys enjoyed the content, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below what you guys enjoy the most about Nolvus and what maybe you want to see in the next update. Version 6, I heard, is right around the corner. We might see it by the end of the year. So, and that apparently is supposed to be a pretty big update. But anyways, y'all, have a good one. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Peace.